Coriander is a really interesting spice. It's actually the seed of cilantro or coriander plant. So if you know cilantro, then you know coriander. What I think is really cool when it comes to spices that we're using all parts of the plant. So the seeds we use as a spice, it grows into a plant, we could use that. A lot of people have an aversion to cilantro, the plant, or coriander, the plant. The same doesn't go for coriander seeds. So if you are sensitive to cilantro, still give coriander a try. It really is a really fragrant spice. That's why I like to use it. You'll smell it immediately once you crush it up or cook with it. But the little seeds are just like that. Much like with any whole spice, I recommend for the fullest flavor, go for the whole seed. It'll retain that flavor and aroma much longer than the powdered stuff. Now this stuff is pretty popular and pretty common to find in just about any grocery store, but I go through powdered coriander pretty quickly. It's kind of one of those spices that pairs nicely with a lot of other warm spices. So cumin and turmeric and all those spices kind of go together. I usually add it to a lot of, ground meat. If I'm doing like a taco night, I'll add some coriander in there, or stews, soups, chilies, that kind of stuff. One of the most common ways to use coriander as the hero, the star of a dish, is to crust it on different meats and proteins. The powder is great on vegetables, and it's a really simple process. And you can do this with just about any hard spice. You could do a crusting of that spice. I'm just gonna grind up some of this coriander. Now be careful, because these tend to pop all over the place. So I like to kind of break them up gently first before I really get in there. But you're looking for just a coarse grind. You're not wanting to get a fine powder, because we want a little bit of that texture. What you might notice right away when you're crushing up the coriander is the smell. It's really lemony and floral. It's a really bright smell. And in a lot of dishes, you're using the spices for the aroma as much as the flavor. Go to town on this. If you have a spice grinder, just go ahead and give it a few pulses. This works. When I haven't had a mortar and pestle, I have resorted to all sorts of techniques to grind spices, like hitting it with a meat mallet, putting in a baggie, and trying to roll over it with a rolling pin. When you don't have the proper tools in a certain kitchen, you might get a little creative when it comes to crushing up your spices. But you're looking for a really coarse grind, so any method really works. Oh, it smells so good. This is amazing. So I just have a little salmon fillet here. I'm gonna oil it. That's gonna act as a little bit of glue to get all of our spices to stick. Rotate that around, get that coated in the oil. And then I made just a little spice blend. This is just a mixture of random stuff from my spice cabinet. That's usually how I use up the last remnants of some spices. I'll just put it in a jar, mix it all together, and that's just my spice blend until it's gone for a little bit. Make your own blend and just season everything with it. It's a good way to use them up. I'm gonna get both sides for sure. And what I do is I sprinkle whatever surface you're seasoning on, I'll sprinkle some on the sides. You'll see why in a minute. Because now I can press the sides and get some of that seasoning all around. You don't wanna skimp any part of seasoning. So I'm gonna push this to one side. Crusting usually involves taking your spice and pressing it into a side. So I don't really put this all over. I just want it crusted on the top. You can do this with any hard spice, basically. You can mix up the flavors, start with a whole spice. Now you will get some crunch and texture. That's kind of the point of crusting. You want it a little thick. You want it to really taste like that ingredient. So there we go, nice and crusted on there. I've got an oven preheated. I'm just gonna bake this, make it really easy. You can pan sear this, you can air fry it, you can grill it. Just whatever cooking method works for you that day. This is the easiest, quickest way for me. Voila. All right, just gonna throw this in a hot oven. This technique works for a variety of proteins. It's not just for salmon. You can do pork chops crusted in a spice. You can do a steak. It really is kind of endless. So go ahead, play around and experiment and choose a protein that you enjoy. I really do love the way this stuff smells. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a taste just to let you know what the spice itself tastes like. Ooh. Same thing, kind of floral, really perfumey. This is such an aromatic spice. This is a spice that's going to impress your friends and family just because of how great it smells, the aroma. It's really simple. You can find coriander seeds just about anywhere. Add it to your next dish. Elevate the flavors a little bit. This is why I love working with whole spices. The second you crush them up, you're releasing all those aromas, all those flavors. Hot swap! And in no time, we are done. There we go. Just gonna transfer this to a plate. Friendly reminder to always let things rest just for a little bit, a few minutes. and then you can dig in. Oh, it smells so good. Yeah, that floral note, you may sense a little bit of lavender even. It's a really fun spice. That is really good. Lemony, a little peppery, probably from my spice blend. Really delicious flavor, and I love the texture, the crunch of the crust. Kind of crisp up a little bit in the oven. So good. If you're not a fan of the heavy crust or texture, just grind it up a little finer. You'll still get that flavor without the crustiness. But I love the crust. I could even go for a thicker crust myself. This would be great on a steak, a crusted steak. Coriander seeds could be a great addition to marinades and even dressings because of those lemony notes, those floral notes. It'll add a lot of aroma to those recipes. So if you like this with seafood or chicken, go ahead and give this a try.